weird there.
Speaking of entitlement and babies, here we go. Another juicy one. We got some bangers lined up for you guys today. Kurt Herbstreit. Did I say that right? We got a mouthful of names today where I'm struggling here. He came out, which I appreciated and respected. And we've been speaking about this. We have been talking about this for the last few weeks now. And basically was upset with the bowl games and all of the players withdrawing from these football games to protect their future careers. And he said kids just aren't the same like they used to be. They don't play for the love of the game anymore. And went on a little bit of a rant. Didn't get the love back at all. We got people like A-Rob from Chicago Bears, a couple other players coming in saying, this guy who makes money off of me is over here thinking he has an opinion, roasting him, right? I don't care about the Kurt Herbstreit. I don't care about the drama, right? What I care about is he right? Is he right when he says like they're being babies, they're being prima donnas, or are the players that are withdrawing, are they in the right? Steven, passing over to you.
Okay, so look, these kids only have so many plays in their body. And there was a linebacker that played for Notre Dame who in the bowl game, this was recent, he plays for the Cowboys now, destroyed his knee.
Mike
it
Parsons?
was gone.
Parsons.
Maybe.
Micah Parsons?
Maybe. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I mean,
Stud.
he's a badass, right?
Stud.
But I mean, you're talking about a kid who was one game away from the NFL draft who just completely could have lost his career. Look, the bowl games, the way that college football is designed right now, the bowl games have inherently lost their value. So if they've lost their value to you and I, and they don't matter unless you're in the top four and you're in the playoffs, if they've lost their value to you and I, then they've lost their value to the players. And look, the players haven't lost their value in themselves. And as much as I hate to say it, you turned college football into a business, and you're expecting these kids to not operate like they work for a business. They do. They work for a business. The boosters are big businesses. I know. I hate it too. I really don't like you all that much, but in general terms, we typically agree on this kind of stuff. But look, you made it into a free agency system with NIL. You made it into these guys are just brought into colleges with the promise of having a career and turning you into a professional athlete with all this money that's going to make you generationally wealthy. And then you're going to say, hey, when we get to this randomly nonsensical bowl game that we're going to play in Tampa or fucking Boise, now all of a sudden I want you to go play it, even though you're one game away from your NFL career and all that money I promised you 4 years ago might be on the line. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it either. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it either. There's just no point. There's no point if you're going to devalue the bowl games to still value the player that high of a level. You just can't have both.
I'm pissed that you did that. I'm pissed. Here's why. So what was funny is I was going in. I wrote it. I actually wrote this down. It's the first time I ever took notes on this topic because I was going through it. This is part of, I think, when I realized that I sometimes provoke arguments when I shouldn't. I was looking into I was making the argument. I was arguing for him, and then I was arguing with myself, trying to find the pros and cons here. And I was with Kirk because I agree. It's ridiculous. This whole thing that's happening. I'm frustrated with it. And I think what happened with Kirk is he got frustrated with what's happening, and he just kind of said it. The emotional side of me wants to be like, yes, you're right. I'm pissed, right? Because these games, they're not fun to bet on because Ohio State's missing 4 players. There's literally no reason. We're over making pick'ems, and it's like, dude, you're playing with a third-string quarterback at Pitt. Because the number one guy, and funny story, the number one guy sits, the second string comes in, blows his shoulder out the second play of the game. But here's the thing. That can happen in any game. That can happen in the first game, and that can happen in the second game. But like you said, and this is what I wrote down, they did this to themselves. Because back in the day, pre-playoffs, when they picked who went into the BCS series, it was a whole freaking basically a popularity contest, right? Yep. 2 teams. That was all that was going to make it. The bowl games were everything. If you made the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the All-State Bowl, huge, bro. Because you knew, look, you got your fan favorites that are going to get picked to go in the game because they're trying to make money. And the colleges accepted it. We, in a sense, accepted it. I didn't like it for college football because everyone had to be perfect. I hated the way that it was, but it provided tons of value to the bowl games. Now 4 teams can make it. Those 1 through 10 teams feel like they have a fighting chance. So 1 through 12, in a sense, to feel like, hey, we are playing to make that Final Four spot. Here's what we have to do to get there. Once that road ends, I don't care anymore. So it's great because now I feel like the games during the regular season have completely changed for sure, in a sense, right? Because you can lose a game and still fight back. These teams have a more of a longevity type of season, and that's why we have to just get to this 8 to 12 game as soon as possible. Eliminate these bullshit games during the regular season when we play Fresno State and Jacksonville University. They're a waste of time anyways. Maybe keep one of them and get rid of maybe a conference game and go to that. I wanted to support Kirk here. The other part of it, and this is more of a long stretch, I grew up watching 30 for 30s, right? As you've just kind of lived through it. And you grew up during the era, though, where all the athletes in your time were going broke shortly after leaving the whatever professional sport they played because there was zero education in the finance field. Yes. My generation watched this happen, and I think that has a play on it. They've been taught not to be stupid with their money. They've been taught to protect themselves. They've saw how these NFL teams treat their players like straight up horses, right? And again, I mean, you're a product of what it is, but they got 3 to 4 years. Running backs have a very short timeline. I got to get paid when I can get paid, and that's just how it's going to be. And so nobody can be mad. The only people that we can only be mad at is ourselves. We've created this environment. Kirk Herbstreit was he created this environment. I mean, it's just, it sucks.
He's his own worst enemy because he's the one that promoted a lot of the scenarios that got us where we are today. Like because he works for a hype machine, right? He works for ESPN, he works for Disney, so he's kind of given a little bit of a line on what he has to toe. And as he did this, and he did it with a level of popularity, because Kirk Herbstreit is extremely popular within the college football realm.
For sure.
It's just slowly been a dig, right? Like we're slowly just one shovel after another. And look, it really came out of Kirk Herbstreit, when he realized that the SEC was going to pick up Texas and Oklahoma, and very quickly the Big Ten, which is where his love is. He went to Ohio State. He loves the Big Ten football. Where they all of a sudden were facing a super conference, and he was like, "Whoa, I don't like this at all." Well, hold on. You don't like it because it now somehow it negatively impacts you, but you didn't care 3 years ago when you were being told what the line was to toe. You were doing it hardcore. You were going with it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Ohio State is a little bit threatened by this super conference that's being developed down in the Southeastern Conference, you didn't like the look of that. Sure. But it's so quickly that he just switched from one to the other. And I think that's kind of where he's at right now. I'm not a huge Herbstreit fan because he's kind of talked out of both sides of his mouth. But I do believe that what he is saying is right.
He says what people want to hear. And this was the first time he kind of stepped out and defended himself. And what I'm pissed at is that, now again, he came out because he kind of took a shot at a few players saying, like, nobody cares, they don't love the game. He was like, I'm not talking about everybody. For anybody that says he thinks he's talking about a person individually, he's kind of just speaking out loud. He's just making a point. And I get where he's coming from. I do feel like guys don't care anymore. It's more of a business. But look, it's what it is. The reason why we love college, though, the reason why, if you ask anybody, if someone goes, I'm more of a college guy, why? Because they play. Hard. It's grind. Hard. And now it's getting away from that. And that's kind of where it sucks. It's fun.
And it kind of transitions pretty well into our next topic, which is more NFL driven.
Great.
Because we're talking about whether or not Trevor Lawrence,
this is weird.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
just as he transitions here, coming into second year, and look, that rookie contract's going to run out here soon, and he's going to have to make a decision.
What we're noticing here, though, is now because the college is becoming more of a business type of transition, right? The way they kind of maneuver through college is more of a business transaction versus a heart transaction. The NFL is now becoming the business that was all done up front, so now we can go play football. Right? They protected their career up here. They got the upfront money. They got the guaranteed money. They invested it, and now we go play football. It seems to me the NFL is becoming way more competitive week over week. I mean, any given Sunday, we've seen we can't get a damn pick right because of how crazy these games swing from one week to another. And so, like you said, leads to our next topic is Trevor Lawrence going to pull a Jalen Ramsey / Leonard Fournette